I don't know where this life will take me. I just know I'm here for the ride. Baby, there ain't no sense in waiting. Yeah, we don't know if we got the time. Oh, I'm just a country girl in a real big world. You can catch me on 65, driving to the mountaintop. I don't make no stops. Yeah, this town was once all that I knew. I'll never forget my roots. I'll never forget my roots.
Hi guys, it's Robin here with the Hunny Pot. Our guest is Susie today, and you'll notice the title is Susie Goes to Italy. So we're gonna get the backstory and all the fun things because this has become popular to just move to other countries, and y'all won't believe it, but Susie's Scottish. When she talks, you'll get it. But so we just want to introduce you. We want to have fun, get it out there, and help. I mean, we grow through each other, guys. So, and I am telling y'all, Susie's got it. Y'all will love this. So we're just going to dive right in and be like, Susie's in Italy. She's living the dream. She bought a house in Italy. Or is it like a casita?
It's a 1,200-year-old cave house in a historic village halfway up a mountain. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
It's unbelievable. I have to just show you. I'll walk around and chat, but this is, can you see that?
I see this. So everybody watching this, y'all, I am so spoiled. Susie's daily Italy posts when she's there. I'm living through her.
I'm going to take you outside as well while we're chatting so you can see a little bit. It's really hot here today. It's about 102 degrees. So
it's hotter there than it is right now in Texas.
I think so. But look at this light. I mean, it's just... Sorry here for a little... Just excuse... There's street cats as well that come here and I befriend them. So I have about 5 outside cats right now. But this is my town. I don't know if you're here.
Gosh.
This is my town in the mountain. Can you see the mountains?
They're beautiful.
And that's many little mountain towns. But that's the Mediterranean Sea there.
Oh.
And this is my balcony. This is my terrace. So
I love it.
Yeah, my terrace is almost the same square footage as my actual house.
Okay, but I'm down with that. I'd love to be outside.
Yes, that's what sold it. If it didn't have the outside area, I would have been struggling to take this on. But what do you want to see, like, around the place first, or?
Yeah, let's see the house first, and then we'll kind of get into how does my Scottish Susie get to Texas, to Italy, to all the things.
I know, right? I know. So, and I just bought a lime tree as well that I'm super excited about. But so when I bought this house, and when they sell houses in Italy, because there's really not a lot of money here, the average income is about $1,000 a month. So when they sell, yeah, it's bad, and that's my teacher friends and things like that. So when they sell their houses, it gets sold with everything inside. So I had to gut this house because it was an old lady that lived here. So it was just full of old furniture. Now I'm going to show you this. This is a work in progress. This is what I'm working on right now. So this is the front room, and as you know, I used to live in New Mexico. I know you're your fellow New Mexican, but I used to live
Yes.
in Santa Fe, and you also know I'm an art background like yourself, and I have a passion for Adobe houses. I love, love, love the Adobe style. So because the front living area was so small, as you've probably seen in my posts, my idea, I started looking through, interior design magazines of Santa Fe and came up with this idea. So now the chimney was already there. There was a tiny little fireplace there, but it was very old fashioned. So I ripped it out and I've built this fireplace, and these are going to be storage benches, but they're also the size of yoga mats. So two people can sleep here, and then I'm going to have a chaise lounge here. And the place is a mess, so please excuse
No,
everybody, anyone
I
that's
love it.
watching, because
I
I'm
love
actually,
it.
I've got
Show
a
me
friend
more.
coming and I'm packed. Look, I'm laying things out on the bed to go. But so when I bought the place, I thought, right, I'll do the bedroom first, so at least I'm sleeping in a clean room. So I just painted this room white, and you see, I painted the floor. So the floor was that old tile, and now it's this. Do you see that?
I love it.
So just plain, but so I'm going to paint all the way through. But so I just got AC put in as well, which is huge here. Not many people can afford AC, which is nice to have. And you'll notice all my I've been studying while I've been working on the house. But these are the original walls. So this is outside. Like what I've shown you is outside the mountain. Now what I'm going to show you is inside the mountain. So as you walk through here, we're actually inside a mountain now. This is a cave. So you're now inside the cave. So I ripped out the kitchen, and this kitchen has just been put in. And as you go through, I've just painted these walls. They need a second coat. I'm doing blackboard paint. So can you see you're in the kitchen looking through?
That is crazy. I love it.
Right? Right? And then so as you go through, and did you hear what I said about now we're in the mountain?
Yes, we're inside
So this
the
is
mountain now.
yeah, so this is now we're inside the cave now. So and it's such a mess, sorry, because as your viewers all know, Robin called me earlier that electricity has been off all morning, and that's just part of having a 1,200-year-old house. And sometimes we run out of water. So I have water here just in case we run out of water. And that's just sometimes what happens, and that's life, and I love it. So now the washing machine, this is another fun thing. This is rock, so they tried to knock this through. This is my little storage area, but I keep my fridge here. And I've got the washing machine on wheels, and it wheels in and out of the bathroom. I feel like I'll have to send you pictures so you can post pictures when it actually looks clean and nice.
So
But I wheel.
in America, when like dishwashers became popular, I remember my mom had one that rolled with a butcher block on top, and it hooked to the kitchen sink. And then when we were using it, it would roll out like to the end of the counter.
Oh,
So
that's
I never
hilarious.
thought about
It's
a
almost
rolling
the same thing.
Yeah.
Well, it was my idea to put it on wheels, and actually, some of my friends here, because Italians have their washing machine in their bathroom. That's just what they do, right? And I thought, I can't handle that. I can't live with my washing machine in my bathroom. I'm going to put it on wheels, and when I need it, like once a week or whatever, I'll just wheel it in and out. And it was my friends saw that I'd done that, and they were like, Susie, why didn't we think of this? So now all my friends are like putting theirs on wheels, so it's good.
I think that's genius because it is in European houses. For anyone who ever watches like House Hunters International or anything like that, the wash is always in the kitchen or the bathroom.
It's normally in the kitchen, but I think Italians are about function. Italians are about culture, love, family, and function. They're not into things. The community is so important to them, and if they don't have much money, they don't care that their washing machine's in the bathroom, and it was function for them, and I absolutely get that.
Well, I mean, you're taking your clothes off to, bathe at the end of the day, I guess. But, because they don't live excessive, like they don't have huge closets or 13 closets or, the guest room closet. That they may have 3 uniforms or whatever they wear, 3 outfits. They're going to wash them and dry them in.
Exactly, and there's no such thing as closets. And I mean, going back to you saying, I think I left my drink outside, I'll go grab it. Going back to you saying I'm Scottish, and when I moved to America when I was 24, and I had never ever seen a walk-in closet before in my life. I thought I had hit the jackpot when I got the job in America and saw this closet. My first walk-in closet in Washington, D.C. was the size of my bedroom growing up.
That's wild. Because you have wardrobes in Europe. You have wardrobes.
Yeah. And I'll show you what I've done here. And this was another thing I noticed. There's a lot of expats here. So my friends here are Australian, New Zealand, English, American, Dutch, Russian, Ukrainian, South African. Got friends from all over the world here, not just local friends. But they were asking me, Susie, what did you do for wardrobes? And this is what, and again, sorry about the messy, but this is what I did. I got these wardrobes from IKEA and just put 2 together, because there is no such thing as closet space or anything like that.
Yes, and people don't think about it. Like, I've been so blessed to have European friends since my early 20s from like multiple countries. And we are really an excessive sort here in a lot of directions. And, we watch these, and the easiest thing is you all go back to House Hunters International or something. And I love people get there and they're like, will my stuff fit? And I'm like, babe, are you taking it all with you? Like, what kind of freight are you paying? Babe, you can't take it all.
Do you know, in my rundown, it's funny, I've been asked a few questions this week and I thought, I'll have to remember them to tell Robin, and because this is my rundown going back to America now, and this is when I start, and I'll try not to cry, I start feeling really sad about leaving because, as you know right now, I work in a school district. And I've only had 2 months here, and then I have to go back to kind of reality until I can finally move full time. That's my plan. But what was I going to say?
The rundown of when you went to America.
Yeah, just like running down. It's quite sad because the reality of it is like what you've said. I was thinking the other day, I was like, if I could just stay here and not even worry about all my belongings in Dallas, and we're talking about way too much, a lot of belongings, I don't think I would even care. And that made me really think, okay, I need to go back to Dallas and just really get rid of everything, because I feel, and I'm not sure, and I'm sorry if this offends anybody, I'm not sure if it's like a little bit of depression or whatever that makes us buy when we are in America, because the difference between my life in America and you're one of the most friendliest people that I have met, but unfortunately my whole time in America I can only count a few people like that, which is a shame because I've been there 24 years. But here, I've owned this house 2 years now, but I've been coming to the area. My good friends from California bought 5 years ago in a couple of mountains along, and that's how I found the area. They gifted me a week of their house, and I just absolutely fell in love. And I tried to buy a house in their town, but there was just none available. But what I was saying, the difference is when I come here, I feel like people really care. I feel like people really care that I'm here. I mean, I can sit in my house in Dallas, and I hate to say this, but I could sit for weeks and I won't even get a phone call, or my neighbour might not even check in on me. But one day, if your neighbours don't see you here, they're like, "Is everything okay? You know, are you sick? Do you need soup?" And some people might not like that. But I have a lot of privacy as well. Obviously, I've got my own space, my own house, but I also know that I've got a ton of neighbours around me that actually care if they see me or not.
That's good though. And I do think like I think we should kind of expand on it. And y'all should know that Susie works as a counselor, correct? I'm not crazy. But she could be an art teacher. She's also a fabulous, I mean, amazing tattoo artist.
Thank you.
I mean, some of the work, but you can definitely like see her art and creativity background. But working as a counselor, she's looking at this differently. And I get it because I have been experiencing like Justin and I live in a house that now is like just under 1,000 square feet than what we lived in for several years. And, you know, I've held on to things and I've held on to things. And a while back, I was like, bring me a trash trailer. And I like literally spent days just chunking. Like, I didn't even care. And then we spent an entire, and y'all have got to bear with me. I have a hair on my face that Jesus, Mary, and Joseph is going to be the death of me. I'm like, it makes me look like my nose runs. Like,
You've got a hair and I'm just sweating. I could just feel the sweat dripping off me all the
it's
time.
like 84 here right now, and I'm like, what?
I know.
So, I mean, and I had to tell Justin, I was like, I have to keep what I'm going to keep, but this crap has to go. I threw away, I sold, I donated. You know, there was a beautiful ex sister at church, and that, you know, she posted that they were doing a yard sale for her cousin who has cancer, and I think cancer just sucks as a whole. If I could ever help, I always try. And I was like, hey, I have these 2 chairs. They're like short wingbacks. They haven't sold. I'm over it. Come get them. I'm bringing them to the store. And I do think that we do buy out of that constant search of self-satisfaction. And then the Joneses mentality. Everyone wants to keep up with the Joneses. And I remember Mama telling me many years ago on the porch with a glass of tea. And, you know, and she, you know, I think maybe she saw me like start going down that path in my really early 20s. And she was like, sweetie, I'm going to tell you, don't keep up with the Joneses because the Joneses are trying to keep up with you. Mm-hmm. And I was like, oh, she was like, just keep up with you. And, you know, we do go through those phases. And, you know, and here, like, bulk shopping is great. Like, I bulk shop my groceries because I was a poor single mother forever. And then I had 3 kids for forever. You have to buy in bulk. They were boys. I mean, my Jesus, you can't go to the store enough for them. But we do get, I think, addicted to it. And I study and study about going because Justin and I, we're very honest. Like, our end game will probably not be in Texas. Like, when we reach the, like, we're just done. We want to just be us. We want to travel. We want to, when we get everybody grown and where we want to be, he's like, it won't be here. He was like, I think he said, I think we'll be different. And we are in that, like, get it out phase, you know, and we look at this simpler life and people are happier.
I am so happy. I don't know if you've noticed, like, especially this week, my friends are now saying, oh my goodness, you look happier. They always say that you look happier, you look healthier. I feel healthier, I feel happier. That's why I'm saying the dreaded countdown to go back, because I'm just like, oh, I hate that. I hate having to go back, unfortunately, because I do feel a lot more, I never feel alone here. I feel very alone in America. Unfortunately, I've had, I'm very grateful. I'm very grateful for all my experiences and what America has, made me become. But I do feel very lonely there, and I don't hear. I mean, as soon as I arrive here, and they don't even know. They know kind of when I arrive, but they are asking like, when is she arriving? Like, does anybody know when she's arriving? And then I literally arrive, and because everybody has gardens and they grow their own food, I will have a bag of vegetables on my doorstep. Most people have chickens here. I'll have eggs. I'll have maybe a bottle of wine. I'll have a bottle of olive oil, always when I arrive. And, I don't know these people that well. Like, it was only last year I bought this house. But the sense of, okay, you now own Nonna's house and Nonna's grandmother's house. And so cousin lives above, uncle lives above, two cousins live across. I've got great Nonna diagonally me, that all those little houses that you see. So I have an entire family like around me in this section of the village. But because I've bought one of their houses, they've basically said, you're now one of the family. Simple as that.
That's
And it's so beautiful, and they treat me like one of the family as well. And the other beautiful thing is my village is full of artists. Like, Anna upstairs is an incredible artist. Her father is an artist. I just met another guy in town who is a sculptor, like a religious sculptor, and it's just, like the real old, religious church sculptures you see, that's what he does. So there's so many artists in this village as well, and in the areas, because we're going back to basics. I am in the middle of nowhere here. I'm 2.5 hours from Naples as we know it, 4.5 hours from Roma, and there's no McDonald's, no nothing. Thank goodness. Sorry, but thank goodness there's nothing like that. So, when you go out, there is a lot of restaurants, but it's very healthy. And like what you're talking about, bulk buying, there's no such thing here. Like I go to the market every week and buy vegetables, and it's like a open air farmer's market. And you have to buy to eat, because those vegetables are so organic, they will start going off in a couple of days.
Oh, yeah? We're moving so I can plug in. Just keep going.
No, you're good.
No, so I know a lot of people who are even here going back to buying daily. They want to go back to buying daily, like you were just talking about. Because they think we're wasteful. And guess what? We are. We are wasteful.
We are very wasteful in America. I mean, I don't think I really understood. I mean, every time you travel, you understand, especially when you go to places like Vietnam, Cambodia, and then you come back to America. I mean, my first eye opener was Cambodia, and then I came back to America, and I felt guilty that I had Gucci shoes in my closet. After coming back from Cambodia, I was like, my head was so different from really wanting a pair of Gucci shoes to coming back from Cambodia thinking, oh my God, like where was my head when I wanted those shoes, needed to have those shoes, and it probably could have, almost fed a family somewhere for like an entire year. It's kind of crazy. And the other, like the big slap in the face was 2018 when I went to Cuba. And that taught me just how wasteful we are, because in Cuba, they literally have nothing. And I watched people like rinsing out Ziploc bags that they had already used 100 times. And it made me think, oh my God, we use them once and throw them away.
I know. I remember my mama would even would wash foil. But
she would wipe what?
She would wash foil. Because she grew up in the Depression and had to quit school in the Great Depression and the Dust Bowl in Oklahoma, and had to pick cotton. The older girls, one was getting married, and then she quit school to help pick cotton so the younger children could stay in school. And so, like, nothing, no foil was used less than like 10 times. I assure you, until this sucker, and if you tore it, well, then it was your next smaller piece of foil. And she washed all of her Ziplocs. And she would put them inside out, and she would set them like over a cup on the dish rack.
Yeah, and great grandmother across the way, she does that. They're not wasteful here at all. They try and use everything, even like, you know, water bottles maybe in their garden, or they really try and use everything.
And that's how it should be. I see more people going back to like beeswax covers for bowls and stuff versus foil or saran wrap or things like that. I left my tea somewhere. You poured your drink. I'm like, I left my tea. And speaking of excess, look at the giant tea, you know. But it'll.
I know. I'm pouring. I've got little bits of fruit in here. I've been juicing. So since I got here, I've been. The fruit and vegetables taste very different. They taste like fruit and vegetables because there's basically zero chemicals in them. It's funny, I don't actually like the taste of meat here because it's so organic. It tastes so strong to me because I'm used to the meat in America. Isn't that weird? So it's like I've hardly had any meat. I kind of try and stick to seafood. But again, everything's a lot stronger tasting because it doesn't have all the chemicals and all the nastiness. So I've actually been juicing a lemon, lime and orange and just mixing it with water and drinking that daily and doing things like that. But I mean, back to the reason I kind of the main kind of hubs at the moment for people leaving America mostly is Portugal and Italy. I don't know if you've heard that.
I have. You know, Portugal and Spain is hot right now.
Yeah.
Expatting to Spain all over the world, like Spain is the new hot place.
Yeah, Spain, Portugal and Italy. They're changing. Turkey is one. My cousin actually lives in Turkey. She moved to Turkey about 7 years ago on the south coast. And she just took early retirement. I think she's 55, and she was like, you know what, I've had enough of this. It's just miserable. She was still in Scotland. It's really cold, and she's like, I'm done. And she had some friends in Turkey, and I went to visit her, and I looked at Turkey first. But Turkey was very expensive, way more expensive than I could afford. But the other reason, like, I've never owned a house. This is the first house I've ever owned, and I would not be able to afford to own a house in America. I can't. As a single female right now,
working for a school district.
Yeah, I can't. I could never. I mean, I was just saying that to my dad. I was speaking to my dad the other day, and I said, you know, because I was talking about this podcast, and I was like, okay, you know, I'm a little bit concerned because obviously I don't want to bash America. I'm like really grateful. And then it made me think, you know what, I'm so grateful that things didn't turn out the way, because I nearly bought a house in Midlands, remember? I don't know if you remember that. I was so close. And it was only because it was an amazing, I don't know if you know her, and I'm trying to remember her name. I'm terrible with names. I'll remember her name. Anyway, she's this beautiful, beautiful woman in Midland. And she was going above and beyond to help me. She's a realtor. And it wasn't just a case of wanting to make money. She knew that I was on my own. It would be a struggle. And she's like, I'm going to speak to the owner. We're going to try and negotiate like a rent to buy or something. But I always wanted to own someplace I could call home. But I just knew it would be such a struggle. And when my job wasn't going well in Midlands, and that was the only thing, I loved living in Midlands. I loved you guys. I had a good community there, but my job was just terrible. I thought, and the districts are so cliquey, I thought, I can't stay here. I can't buy this house. And then look at me now. I now own my first house in Italy. So
That's a great first house.
I'm grateful. Yeah, I'm really grateful that that happened, because I'm really happy that I now own a house here.
I think that's a great first house.
Yes, yes. So I knew from a really young age. Isn't that weird? I knew from a really young age that I had a travel lust, a wanderlust. That's for sure. And I basically tried to figure out. I didn't want to be a teacher. I never wanted to be a teacher. But I did research on what was the best job to get to be able to travel, really. And it was either like a nurse, a teacher, a doctor. And unfortunately, I had parents that really didn't see my worth and didn't realise how smart I was. I think as an adult, I've been diagnosed with dyslexia. And as a child, people didn't understand what that was. So I was just kind of I was just told I was a bit slow and maybe a bit thick. And here I am now as an adult with a master's degree in psychology and human development from the George Washington University in Washington, D.C., and that was like, if only that had been understood, I think it would have taken me very different places. However, it wasn't, so I studied art, and the first break I got was a job on Carnival Cruise Lines when I was 18. So I got a videography job when I was 18, and within 24 hours, and I had just graduated from a local college, and I worked my butt off. I mean, my professor was so happy with me. He's like, Susie, and I thought it was a joke, right? I'm sitting in class one day, and my videography professor came in and said, Susie, I've got Carnival Cruise Lines on the line, and they're looking for a videographer. And out of the whole class, he said, I picked you. I thought you would want this job. And I thought, he's joking. So I went, oh, ha, very funny, Peter. And the whole class is like laughing, thinking, oh, that's a funny joke. North coast of Scotland, Carnival Cruise Lines, like Miami. Like, who's he kidding? And he goes, Susie, they're on the phone right now. Can you go and get the phone from my office? And I thought, whatever. So, I go down to his office thinking this is a joke. Pick up the phone. Carnival Cruise Lines is on the phone. They literally flew me to London the next day to get a full medical. And within 2 days, I was in Miami working. I know, it was crazy. And I was just 18. So that was the start of it. And that was the eye-opening to kind of like media studies. I did that for a year. I went back to England. I have a degree in media studies, photography, graphic design. And then I still knew, I was like, I don't want to be here. Things were happening in Britain politically, and it was just getting, in the weather. And, at that stage, there wasn't a lot of positivity. A lot of people moaned a lot about everything. And that's when the job came up. I graduated with my postgrad. I decided to do teacher training at Brighton University on the south coast of England. And then Britain, like America, because they were losing all their teachers, they then brought in a rule, and it was my year. I always fall into this. This has been in my entire life. So the year I graduated, the government turned around and said, if you graduate being a teacher, you have to work in Britain for 2 years before we will give you your graduation certificate. Yeah, so I was stuck in London working for 2 years. Like, it was a countdown, and it was literally on the day the 2 years was up, I got my certificate. I got the job at the British School of Washington, D.C. So I was in D.C. at 23 teaching art for diplomatic children. So that was the start of it. From D.C., I was there for 7 years. I worked 5 years at the British School of Washington, D.C. And then I got an amazing job at Sidwell Friends. Now, Sidwell Friends is the only school that the president's children go to. So I was very, very honoured and lucky to get the art/drama teacher's position at that school. From that school, I ended up actually going to the Middle East because I went through a breakup. So I had met, when I went to America, I'd met this lovely man who became my husband. And unfortunately, it wasn't that we weren't getting on or anything. It was just a personal thing, and we decided to go our separate ways, which was a very tough decision. But I thought, if we're going to split up, I can't stay around. And he agreed. So I took an assistant principal's job on in the Middle East, and he stayed there. He met someone else within 6 months. And I was single for about 10 years. So, my good friend just came out to visit me recently, and she said, isn't it wild how we make decisions on our life? And I'm actually going to share with you why Corey and I split now, just in case anybody's going through this, because I want you to really think about this, because my good friend of 30 years came to visit me. And my first husband and I split because we were very young, and he found out he couldn't have children. And I wanted children. Now, I am now 48 with no children and no husband. And he, remarried quite fast. Obviously, he's still got no children. But that didn't even need to happen when I look at it now. And it was a decision we made for each other. We loved each other enough. He knew that I really wanted to be a mum. There was no other options at the time. Adoption is very expensive. And there wasn't the options like in Texas. They are pushing foster to adopt. There's so many children out there now, and especially in Texas. But way back then, we looked at every single option, and there just wasn't any. But it's wild how life presents it, because here I am much later on, and although right now I work with children that I adore, I still didn't have any of my own. So that was the Middle East, and then from the Middle East, I got a job in California because I wanted to come back to America. I thoroughly enjoyed working there, but I was ready to come back to America. And so I didn't know where I wanted to be though. So I did the Green Tortoise Tour, it's called. Everyone will have to Google that now. And it's a hippie bus that goes across America. It takes 2 weeks, and it goes across the north, down the south.
And it's called the Green Tortoise Tour?
Called the Green Tortoise Bus. I think it's just called it. It's based in San Francisco. And I found out about this bus, and I thought, right, that's what I'll do. I'll jump on this bus, I'll go right across America, and then I'll decide where I want to live. And it was in between Colorado, because it stops everywhere. And it was in between Colorado and California. That was my two places I chose. I was like, ooh. So it was like flip a coin kind of thing. So that's how I ended up in California. And then Highland Ink happened out of being an art teacher, which is probably too long a story. But anyway, I ended up becoming a tattoo artist and opened Highland Ink in California. Done really, really well. And then I met my husband, Tim. So Tim was a lieutenant colonel in the Marines, and his job was taking him to Rome in Italy. And so he said, Susie, I want you to please sell your studio and come with me. I want to marry you. And, we had only just met. It was a leap of faith. And I thought, I'm going to do this. This is incredible. Yeah. So I did it. I, took the leap of faith. And 2014, we moved to Rome. And Tim and I got engaged, and we lived in Rome for a year. And that was the start of, me falling in love with Italy, I think. Oh.
I love that.
Yeah. So
that's me how it all comes full circle, later.
Yeah, because I don't think you didn't know any of that, did you?
I knew I knew a little bit about Tem, but we had never really expansively, because a lot of times other people were around, and you give the highlight reel when you read the room and know who maybe can't handle it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I
So
love that that's how you found Italy as Tem.
that's how that was my first taste of Italy, and I still have my friends here from 2014. 10 years, 10 years. I've had friends here from Rome. Some of them have visited me. I visit them. And they're from all walks of life, and it was incredible. We ended up going back to America, but I always loved Rome, and whenever, and unfortunately for your viewers, unfortunately my husband passed away 2019. That's why I am on my own, or I'm sure he would be here with me enjoying this. But
Can you imagine?
it would be, well, first of all, he was 6'5", so no, he would have to be like this in the kitchen. I'm not sure. I think we would have had to find another place, actually. He used to always hit his head off everything especially in New Mexico. So.
Oh yes, because adobe houses, traditional, historic ones, people were short, babe.
Exactly.
They were all my size.
Yeah, exactly. So my tie to New Mexico, as well as I studied art therapy in New Mexico.
Oh.
And then I went to George Washington and studied psychology, human development. So that's where I'm at just now. So my plan is to work remote, work online, work remote, and move here full time after next year. Because if you do 5 years, I know, I can't wait. I'm so excited. If you do 5 years in Texas schools, you actually get a pension.
Yes.
So I'm on
very
my fifth.
early in TEA. That's actually super cool.
Yes, I'm on my 5th year. So I'm just going to get the 5th year done, and then I can be here full time. That's my plan. I know.
I think, and we've had conversations. We've had cool conversations at hair salon and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. I believe in divine intervention. Mm-hmm. And I'm not going to cry. I believe Tim took you back to Italy. They leave us here, they never leave here. Because I know how much you miss him. Incredibly. And I know that's not something you shared really outside of myself and Tracy. We're not going to talk about it. That's a whole other podcast.
It's a whole other mental health podcast, I think.
Yes, we're going to do a whole other podcast just on that one. But Tracy,
I do believe I think you've hit the nail on the head. I do believe he's been there a lot through many different things. Kind of guiding different things to work out for me and not work out for me because they weren't meant to be for me. And I do see that. Midland, it was really, really weird. I don't know if you remember, Tim passed away, and then my dog of 14 years passed away the year later. And he always promised me, because I always used to, as Haggis was getting older, I said to Tim, I don't know what I'm going to do when she passes. We're going to have to plan for this. We're going to have to do a trip or something. I don't know how I'm going to get my head around this. And because that happened in life, hold on. No. And Stella Blue, well, COVID had hit, and everything. It was just crazy. And, I'll never forget the night I went home and I was sitting in Midland, and my phone. Now, my husband used to joke with me, he used to run into the room and throw himself on the bed. And I was lying on the bed in Midland, and I was upset, I was crying, and I felt the bed And I thought, oh my God, he's just jumped on the bed. I felt the bed going down. And I remember turning around and talking to him and saying, are you here? And then my phone started. And I'm like, oh my God, he's here. He's here. He promised me, he would be there. And so there's been a few things.
Oh yeah. And we had talked kind of previously, that will be its own podcast, because that one needs to be its own world.
Absolutely.
Because that's a level that it will bring to the viewers that I truly believe is needed, much as this one. But sometimes you have to separate and break it down, because you have lived an expansive life.
Yeah.
You actually lived, and people don't think about it, but we live many lifetimes inside of one lifetime. Like,
and it's funny because like you recognize it, and other people, like I have one of my, I've only got a few close friends, and I always say to people when I'm seeing people, you only need 5 people. You only need, and it was the best advice anybody ever gave me. But one of my people, or one of my favorite people, is a guy called Leroy in Washington DC, and jog me, I have forgot what were we talking about again. I totally forgot what where we were going.
we were talking about you only need 5 people.
Yeah, and before that, what did you say?
We were talking about how you live lifetimes inside of your lifetime.
Yes, thank you. That's what I needed. So you see that, right?
Yes.
But other people see something else, right? My good friends that have known me known me my whole life, what they see is the truth. They see a survivor, right?
Yes.
I am surviving, but I'm thriving with the surviving, right? If someone offers me something, I don't go, oh, can't do that, it might not work out. I go, okay, and I take a big gulp and try it. If it doesn't work out, you know what? It's been an experience. But that's my view on life. That's what I do, and that's what they see. And they are so proud, and they tell me, go for it. Like, whatever I got offered, I try and take. Even if it scares the crap out of me, I still try and take it. Whereas Leroy was saying, and I thought this was really interesting, Leroy turned around to me one day and he said, I've known you 10 years, Susie. I know you, right? But do you know that all my friends think you're rich? And I said, what? He goes, all my friends think you are absolutely, like, we were talking about stinking rich, like multi-millionaire. I'm like, what on earth? He goes, and he was laughing when he was telling me, because like sometimes I've got to phone him up and borrow money, you know what I mean? So that's why he was like, yeah, he says it's because of the way you live your life. Because you live your life like sometimes on this, the skin of whatever, or you take opportunities, or you travel, or I said, yeah, but I don't own a house. I don't own the things maybe your friends, own. I
would think, yeah.
Yeah, I don't have 3, 4 children. It's very different. And plus everything's done on a budget as well. I mean, I'm about to pick my friend up from Naples Airport, and we're going to drive around Amalfi Coast for 2 days, and I'll send you lots of photos, but I've never done it before. I've been waiting, and she's like the person I'm going to do it with, but we're doing it on a budget. I mean, she's a single mum, and I said, right, we'll go to supermarkets, we'll buy a bottle of wine, we'll drink it on the beach, or we'll just do it on a budget, but we'll enjoy it, and it'll be fantastic.
But Leroy is right, and his friends are right, because you are rich, because like Justin and I have gotten to the point where we're doing it. We will figure it out.
Yeah.
We're going to go do it, because, sweetie, they're not going to put it in the casket with you.
Yeah.
Your life has to be rich in experiences and adventures and whimsy and all the things, because I do.
Yeah.
And I bought several homes. And I mean, and my home now is very modest as yours, and it's the happiest I've ever been. And because once you realize, I would rather go and jump. And what you teach me and everyone else is that quit holding on to the door handle, Robin. Quit holding on and pause. You know, we hold it and we're gripping it, just gripping it out of fear. Open the damn door and go. Just go. I mean, and don't like creak it and look around the corner. Fling that sucker open and keep trucking. Like, what's the worst that's going to happen? I learned everything the hard way. Everything. So really, what's the worst that's going to happen?
And believe me, it's like, it's frightening. It's frightening. Like, people, I think some people, like, maybe look at my life and think, oh, you're a bit of a daredevil or whatever. But it's actually very frightening for me. And plus, when you travel, like I've traveled to the extent, sometimes you lose your family as well. I'm completely estranged from my family and I've come across a lot of people that this has happened to, because your family start resenting the fact that you've moved away from them, and they think, because they've lived in one place, you think that you're better than them, and it's not that at all. It's just, it's been complete survival. It's never been anything else. So when you've been gifted, I guess, a life like mine, there comes a lot of negatives with the positives. And as you know, like, I lived in a van. That was another thing Tim and I dreamt of doing.
Okay, that was cool.
Yeah, we wanted to. So he was about to retire, and it was my dream. I think it's from Scooby-Doo when I was growing up. I'm pretty sure it was from watching Scooby-Doo in Scotland. But I wanted that Scooby-Doo van so badly, and it was way before van life, and I was talking about it for years. My mum thought it was absolutely bonkers, and Tim had got sick. He had started getting really quite sick, and I'm like, I'm buying this van. It's happening. Like, whether he's going to be around or not, it's happening. And it happened on my own. I wish that he had got to experience it. But it happened on my own, and I even designed the van with only one window because I was so scared. I was so scared of not knowing what was going to happen. Now, if I was designing the van again, I would have 4 windows, because now I'm fine. But I will never forget, Robin, the first 2 weeks in that van. I was absolutely shitting my pants. Excuse my language.
No, it's perfect.
I drove from DC to Savannah. That was my first stop. I wanted, like, Savannah, Georgia. I'm going to Savannah, Georgia first. And I remember finding this beautiful family in this farm, and they allowed me to park on their farm by this man-made lake. And it was only meant to be a week. I think I did 2 weeks, but then I thought, okay, now I've got to grow a big pair of balls because it's time to move on. Like, where's next? And it was so frightening those first couple of months being in that van on my own. But people restored my faith. Every time I met people and I told them what I was doing, I was trying to give back. I don't know if you know that. I was traveling around and trying to give back. I felt like I had been blessed with the chance to get my van and travel, so I had to give as well. So I travelled around and I gave back to anybody that had cancer. I offered free areola tattoos, or basically anything they wanted. If they wanted a normal tattoo, if it was helping them heal, I didn't really care. I was just, and doctors, I'd gone on a couple of radio programs and things like that, and doctors were coming saying, come and use my, studio, my practice, my office, and then I would go out at night and I would start talking, you know, be sitting at a bar or something in Savannah, Georgia, or wherever, and they'd be like, "Oh, wait a minute, were you on the radio today? I recognise your voice." And then the whole bar would start talking. Then I would get drinks bought, my meal bought. You know, people are like, "Well, where are you parking your van tonight?" And I'm like, "Well, I don't have anywhere yet." "Oh, well, you're parking it in my driveway." You know, and that just really restored my faith, because like I feel like, especially in America, like it doesn't happen so much here, but you know, every time I feel like I'm not being cared for, something happens and then I feel that I am being cared for. So that was incredible. I mean, I literally was 2 years in that van, and people say, "How did you shower?" And I always say, I met beautiful people that let me park in their driveway and said, "Use my shower." Seriously.
Yeah.
I mean, I joined Planet Fitness, and I think I showered in Planet Fitness in 2 years, maybe 3 times. And
But
I'm
that's
still alive.
good.
Lucky enough, I'm still alive. You know, no one killed me. So no, it was.
I wanna touch on something you said, because I don't think you caught what you said, like as a whole. I did, because I remember the day I realized I transitioned from survival mode to thrive mode.
Mm-hmm.
And if you've ever been stuck in survival mode,
Mm-hmm.
it's hard. We go right back there.
Mm-hmm.
Because you just have to figure it out. You just have to make it. You just have to whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But I love how you said, I am surviving, but I am now also thriving.
Mm-hmm.
And I do think so many people get stuck there. And it's inspirational that, you know, you just took off and you were like, I'm going to drive across the country. You know, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to live in my van. And you did a lot of help and a lot of good work while you healed.
Yes, it was extremely healing. It was very, very, very healing. And that healing had to keep continuing. And it was the van that helped me get this house, because I ended up selling the van, which was a really hard thing to do, because my van was my kind of like runaway bride a little bit. My van was my, you know,
Escape.
I always knew if I had the van, no matter what, I could get in it and drive away, yeah. But the day I sold that van, it was so frightening for me, because I'm like, but I knew something good was going to come of it, because I had never, ever had that amount of money before, ever in my entire life. And I done the van in such a way, it took me 8 months. I designed it really well. So I made a little bit of money on it, still had the loan to pay off, but the money that I made in the van bought this house. So this house I paid cash for, because that's what you do here. You can't, unless you're an Italian resident, you can't get a mortgage. You have to have cash, yeah. However, my friend and a lot of people I know, you can pick up houses here for $8,000, $10,000. Oh yeah. Yeah, I mean, some of them need a lot of work. Like my house is more cosmetic work. I mean, it was livable as soon as I walked into it, but it was really old. I mean, you know, hadn't been touched since the early 80s. That was all the furniture in here. So, you know, I've been gutting it over the last 2 years, and I'll create, you know, my little art like haven here. But yeah, you can find all over Italy, you know, Tuscany, Puglia over the other side you can find lots of different little houses. But what I do want to say though, for anybody that is thinking about buying abroad, please do it with the right intentions, because I'm going to say this, hoping that nobody here, no one in my village, but there's a lot of people that come here, especially from America. And I am proud that I've lived in America 24 years. I'm very proud. But the Americans that come here, they're causing trouble and they're sticking to themselves. Yeah. They're not learning the language. They're being demanding. They're acting like they're in America. I know, right? And quite frankly, I find it really embarrassing. And it's like, why are you doing that? Like, come, if you want to go live in a different country, whether it's Spain, whether you choose Portugal, please, like, do your research, learn the language. Like, they think I'm a bit of an oddball because I have local friends. When I first came here, the only people I knew were local people. Now, most local people do not speak English because why would they? They're local. They live in Italy. Why? They don't need to speak English. So unless I can communicate with them, that's it. So, I started learning the language. I'm not fluent yet. I will be but I'm not fluent yet. But a lot of these people move here and don't learn the language, and they stick with only the expats, and I'm like, yeah, why?
No.
I
That's
mean, I
not
know.
it doesn't matter. You could go to Belize, Europe, um, South America, Central America, all very big expat countries. But
Yeah.
learn their culture. You left for a different life,
Hmm.
for slower, gentler.
Hmm.
Learn it. I'm with you. Like, that breaks my
Yeah.
heart.
It's upsetting because, especially one night, I went out into a local town, and no one knew who I was, and people were talking about some of the drama that's been going on with the Americanas, and I'm like, really, that's really sad. That's sad that there's some people come over here, and and that is the way people are, because you know I just find it really, really sad. I think, come here, there's so many beautiful local people, and like I say, they grow their own vegetables. I mean, most people want to live off the land. I think before it was a necessity, but also it's a mental health thing. They love it. They love nurturing the land. They love growing. They love cooking what they've grown. And like I say, most people keep chickens. They don't, nothing's excess. They normally all have 3 chickens, just to get the eggs. Trying to think of what else. They're using the river. I mean, the great grandmother next door to me, she said, like, Nona, my house, and I don't know if you noticed, there was a sink in the corner of the terrace.
Yes.
I believe Nona had 4 children living here. Now, originally, this was just 2 rooms. She had 4 children in 2 rooms. Sorry, I don't know where the balloons are coming from. Maybe Nona's going,
I love it.
I know. So, but she had 4 children, and the lady next door, I've got a nickname for her, but we won't go there. Her cousin upstairs thinks it's funny, but she's lovely. She's lovely.
I love her. She comes to the terrace. She brings wine, oregano, wisdom.
Exactly. She weeds my terrace.
I love her.
I was like, what are you doing? She's 84. I'm like, oh my God, you're going to break your hip.
Yes.
But she's so funny. Like, what I love about Europeans, and especially Italians, they don't beat about the bush, but there's none of this, like, I'm not offended. If someone comes in and weeds my terrace, thank you. But she said to me, I can't wait any longer and you weeding this terrace. Like, this is an eyesore. Get it done, or I'm getting it done. And I'm like, I love it, because that's the way I am. I'm the same. I'm like, hey, are you going to take your trash out, or do you want me to take your trash out? In America.
Yes.
And I know people get offended, but I was like, go for it, Nonna, let's weed it. I came in a couple of glasses of wine, and she's climbing my wall, weeding the terrace that day. Remember
The pictures are great.
I thought I have to join in now, and I thought now I'm starting to sober up a little bit. So then I thought, right, I'm cracking open another bottle of wine, and she joins in. I was like, oh my goodness, 9 o'clock at night, weeding my terrace, because I'd only just got here, so I was only here like not even a week when that happened. But yeah, she wanted the terrace weeded like on day 1 or 2.
Like, you're here, you've slept, get busy.
Absolutely. Like, I've been looking at your weeds for 6 months. Get them gone.
I'm surprised they were still there when you came back.
Well, it's because the gate's locked, so my terrace is actually locked up. But that's another thing. I offered her a key, and she wouldn't take it. She's like, no, that's your private house, But she's funny. But yeah, the terrace is locked up, which is a good thing because, in Italy, there's a lot of old men here, and yes, they love me because I'm single, and
And beautiful.
I was chasing. Thank you. I was chasing off a 72-year-old yesterday who said he was like Casanova, and I really needed to give him a chance. I think he had 2 teeth in his head.
I love him.
So I was literally, I'll have to send you that picture. I was running around the beach, and his wife was with him. That's the thing. That's the culture.
I freaking love it. I love it. I stinking love it.
I said to my friends, I'm pretty sure, because my friend's like, God, his wife hasn't even looked up, and he's been like chasing you about the beach all day, and like, I says, I know, I wish I've had enough of him now, and but I said his wife's probably glad of getting rid of him. Be like, yeah, go chase someone else. His wife's probably peace and quiet,
That is hilarious.
Yeah, but I am very grateful I have a fenced-in terrace, because they would be knocking on my door. I've had roses and flowers pinned on my gate. Did you see that one day?
I think I did, but I don't think I caught why.
Yeah, people. I don't know. I've just had flowers left on my gate and things like that. And I still don't know who they're from or anything. But yeah, the old men here, they're interesting.
But you know what? They're living their best life.
Absolutely.
They're not sitting at the club.
No, they're not.
Waiting for someone to acknowledge them. They're like, look, she's cute. Let's go talk to her.
Exactly. They're fine. But I've got to tell you this, because this is another thing why I think people are very happy here, because this is the culture, right? The culture is, and I don't know if you know a lot about the culture, but the culture is normally things open at 7:30 in the morning, and they close at 12:30, and then they open again at 5 to 8. So, because in the middle of the day it's so hot. But this is what I found in. I thought, this is so interesting. The close between 1 and 5 is not just lunch and siesta, it's sex, lunch and siesta. And that is why everybody's happy here.
I love it. But they do love big. And very few people know this about me. I had a beautiful Sicilian uncle growing up.
Oh.
Yes, and he was larger than life. He was a top senior classified engineer for Honeywell. He designed security systems for like crazy places, like Miramar. I remember the Top Gun Academy hat before the game came out, And
excuse me.
And but when he would cook and he drank and he was loud, yes, but never in like but the way he loved my aunt, it was infectious.
Yeah.
And when he hugged you and kissed you, just this big giant, mwah, I'd grab your face. It was so different.
Yeah.
Because I did not growing up in an affectionate household.
Mm-hmm.
And then we get this uncle when we were little, and he is like, big love, big life, big adventures, big food, Mm-hmm. And he would always say, he was like, everyone's doing it wrong. He
Yeah.
was a big believer, and he took my
Yeah.
aunt, who had been on very little adventures, and he took her. I mean, and they were just like that, like, okay, well, we want to go. Let's figure it out. Okay,
Yeah.
this is when, this is how much we can spend, blah blah blah, and
Yeah.
they would go. And her life was so much better because she met someone who lived and loved so out loud.
Yeah. And they do, and I love that you've mentioned that he took your face, because they do, they take your face. And like, I can go up to the piazza. I almost wish maybe we'll jump back on another time or see how many people want to see it, but I would love to walk you up to the piazza and even take you into my local church, because there is a story, which I only found out this week. I'm just finding out more and more and more from my village. And my village is the only UNESCO village in the whole area. And there's a lot of history in this village, but I just found out we've got the saint of dogs. Now, there is, obviously it's got a proper name, but there is a saint in my church with a dog sculpture. And the story goes, during the plague, or there was a really bad plague, depression and plague, and he was dying, and he went to the outside of the city and he sat underneath a tree, and he knew he was dying, and a street dog came along and sat with him and licked his wounds. But because the dog licked the wounds, they healed. And the dog stayed with him, and the dog kept bringing him water as well. I don't know, I have no idea how, but anyway, the dog, I think, was bringing him scraps, water, and licking his wounds. Anyway, he survived. And because of that, he said, oh my God, like, these animals are special. There has to be, so there is like a saint for Dogs Day here because of him. Yeah, I never knew it either, and I'm like, oh my God. And it made me, because my dogs are so special to me, they'd be my rocks, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm in a village that's like sainted by dogs. This is like even better, you know. I know. But what I was telling you is, I'd love to walk you up and just show everybody how people speak to you, how people greet you. Like, just being here a year, you know, I did a paint and sip recently, and the locals don't really know me still, because I'm not like loud and crazy and brash. I'm keeping myself to myself, and I'm slowly introducing myself to them. And they watched me. A lot of the locals sat on this high wall and looked down into the restaurant where I was doing my paint and sip, and watched me doing it. And when I finished, they literally, there was about 30 of them, clapped, shouting, brava, brava, like they thought it was incredible. They couldn't believe it. So even some of them now that knew me, because, you know, I'm the redheaded tattooed girl in town, you know, and can't quite figure out what I'm doing here. But they will, especially the men. The women don't do it, but the men will, the older men will sometimes hold my face when they greet me, and it's always a hug and a kiss. But that it's really genuine. It's genuine, like, thank you. And one woman, oh, I think I posted this, I don't know if you remember this, and I'll try and tell you without crying, but I came back, where were we? I was out with my local friend Lorella, who can't speak English. We use a lot of Google Translate, but the more we spend time together, and we met 3 years ago, and she's a teacher here, and we were coming back. Her nephew was visiting from Naples, and I wanted to show them like one of the new restaurant that had opened in town. So we went up there and had dinner, and we were walking back, and this local woman that knew Lorella, because everybody knows everybody. Oh, and that's another story, remind me to tell you. That was quite funny when I first got here. So she shouted out to Lorella, oh, hi, I haven't seen you since school, you know, blah, blah, blah. And then she turned round, pointed at me, said something, excuse me, and Lorella's nephew went, you know, and I thought, oh my God, what she said is she complained that I'm hanging my washing out on the wrong day, you know. And Lorella turned around and she couldn't tell me because she can't speak English. So Lorella's nephew, who's very good at English, he's, how old is he, 14, I think? He turned around and he said, Susie, that woman just said she is so grateful that you've moved into that corner of the village because you've brought sunshine to that corner of the village. I know. I was like, and I'm like, what? She said, every time anybody sees you, you smile, your energy, and they're all about that. She's like, you've just brought sunshine to that corner of the village, and I just thought that's so special. That's really
I
special.
love that. I love
Yeah.
it, love it, love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's perfect. Ooh, and I knocked this
The
over.
other story I was going to tell you, which is really funny, was the same night. Lorella turned around and said, Susie, my friend works in the post office in your village, and she knows the woman that works in the town hall. And she told my friend who works in the post office that you haven't paid your garbage bill. And I said, what? So I like looked back at my records. I thought this was hilarious. And I had paid it, but they just didn't have, and this happens a lot seemingly, they didn't have a receipt that I had paid it or someone had lost it. So I just had to go show, you know, the town hall that here I've paid my garbage bill, you know, the garbage collection. But I thought that was so funny. My friend that works in the post office was told by this other, you know.
I love it.
I loved it.
When
I
you have to
thought
pay your
it was
garbage
hilarious.
bill, you're like, oh my gosh, did I not?
I know, I was mortified. I was like, oh my goodness, I can't have that, you know. But I just
And
thought,
have
you know,
people thinking, I didn't pay the garbage bill. And I love how you're like, did I hang the wash out on the wrong day? Because people forget. In Europe, they have washing machines and you hang your clothes.
yeah, hang my clothes out. It was, I love.
I miss having a clothesline.
Yeah.
I miss it.
It dries so quickly. I don't know why. I know I try in America. It doesn't work. I don't know why. It's like, and I don't know why we don't do that. And more. I mean, I know down south, and you see all the old American films, and they're all hanging out their washing, and like years ago. And plus,
I actually had a clothesline until maybe 10 years ago, and Justin's
really,
actually going to reinstall me one because I think the way they smell is like sunshine.
I agree. They smell so much. Just there's something about air dried clothes. I just
It is.
and every single time it'll be my 1 millionth time. Every single time when I take in the washing and I'm like giving it a little shake, I always have to just smell it, you know. And I mean, I've got a basket sitting there and just the pegs and I love
It's
it.
fun. And it's, to me, it's cathartic.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right, Susie. So we've got at least 2 more before you go home. Well, we can do the one when you're home, but we've got a minimum of 1 before you go back home. So how many weeks do I have before you go home?
You don't have many. My 2 months here are nearly up. So I actually fly home on next week, the 25th. I'm flying out of Rome. But my friends, so tomorrow I am driving to Naples.
Yes, and you're going to do the coast.
Pick up my friends, do the coast. You know, maybe we can coordinate and have a little
I think that
little
would be
one. Like,
great.
look, this is Positana. Oh my goodness, you know.
Yes.
But we'll try and coordinate. That would be fun. Just
I would love you to go to the Hunny Pot page and just post on it and be like, this is my trip, guys, that I was telling you about.
Right. I will do that, absolutely.
Because I promise they're going to be invested in you just like I am.
I hope so. You know, I hope people will have questions and, you know, ask me anything. I'm an open book. Please, if anybody has questions or just to ask me. But yeah, I hope this does, you know, help people out or let people think or whatever.
Oh yeah, but I
Got
think
to live your, got to live your life. Live your life. We're here for such a short time. We really are. So you
we
really just,
are.
yeah, we are. It's
And
before you know it.
my grandma always told me, if you can count the friends you had from your childhood on one hand, and which friend was it that told you you need 5 people?
It was a life coach.
There you
That
go.
was the best $300 I ever spent on it, and I thought at the time, it was years ago, and $300 was a lot of money, especially when you don't have it. And I thought, what? But that was one thing she taught, and I tell everybody it, so you get it for free from me. But she said you only need 5 people, and you know, when you focus just on 5, because I was a sort of person, I needed. I didn't need. I thought gather, gather, gather. You know, tons of people around me. And the day she said that, I went home and wrote 5 names, and she said, focus on those 5 people and really make an effort. And my life changed. My life absolutely changed when I focused on just 5. And I reached out to them and said, would you like to meet for lunch? Or would you like to go to the movies? Our friendship really got to a different level, and my life really changed. So, yeah, every month I write the 5 people I'm focusing on.
I
Every
love
couple of
that.
months. Yeah.
And
Because it
so,
changes. You know, sometimes it changes. Sometimes new people
well,
come
yes. And
in
so,
life.
like,
Yeah.
I say we have bubble layers.
Mhm.
So, like, here's my immediate bubble,
Mhm.
and it's like Justin, the children, the grandchildren, right? And then here's your first bubble layer, and then
Mhm.
in out and out. And like you said, you have to hyper focus
Mhm.
on, and I love this, the 5 people. That is
Yeah.
like, and like you said, it changes all the time. This month, here's my 5 people,
Mhm.
and you just go to your paper and you write down the 5 that come to your heart, and that's what I'm going to hyper
Mhm.
focus on this month. And next month, I'm going to do it again. And like you said, you know, you're giving it to us for free. And I love it that you're like, why am I life coach? And then you get something that
Yeah.
goes all the way back in the annals of time, because Mama always said, if you can get to the end of your life and you have enough friends for one hand that you
Mhm.
have had your whole life, that you
Mhm.
are still close to, you have won.
Mhm.
You have met your goal.
Mhm. You know
Because
another. Sorry. Go ahead.
no, she says people come and people go, and they have seasons,
Mhm.
and some seasons revisit and things like that. But the
Mhm.
core is what remains.
Another thing that just brushing on this, I know we're wrapping up, but another thing that I heard this week and I thought, oh, that is so powerful. And what I've noticed, because I have got a couple of friends that I've kept for a very long time. However, their lives have been very stable, and my life has changed a lot. And sometimes when I get together with these certain people, they'll talk to me like they spoke to me 10, 15 years ago.
Yes.
And it either triggers me or it makes me feel very uncomfortable, or I'm like, oh my god, they don't know me anymore. And someone said this week, and it was like a TikTok or an Instagram, and I thought that's so true. And I reached out to the 2 people that do this, and they don't know they're doing it.
No.
But I said, I just want to reach out to you because you're one of my favorite people. But I also want to remind you that when I met you, I was 23, and now I'm 48. And if you think about all the countries I've lived in through that time, and maybe the relationships you've seen me, or in graduate and university, and going through good jobs, bad jobs, whatever. If you think about that, I am a very different person now. And
Yeah.
all I said is, I just want to introduce you to who I am now. I want you to take the time. I know. I thought I couldn't. It was so powerful, and they got it. They got it. Fight it, because I've been having a hard time with these couple of girls, and because they keep bringing up things from the past as well. And I'm like, I understand. I've been through stuff, and I understand you've been there for me. However, I am who I am now, and I really want you to know who I am now. for us to continue this amazing friendship, I need you, to know who I am now.
Like,
Yeah.
let's visit the memories. Let's laugh as they pop up on social media. Oh my gosh, you remember this? But my deal is, if we're gonna revisit it, let's just do the good. Because I can't camp out in the bad. I was there, and I get it. Most of my friends were like this, even my siblings. While my life was going like this, and sometimes like this, that's what I tell people, because, I'm married to Justin, he has no kids. And, we talked about the no kids, and I just tell him, well, who else marries a woman with 3 kids and a couple of ex-husbands laying around? Because I had to learn, I can't camp out there. I can only visit the good. Because
absolutely. And you're not exactly you're not that person anymore. You're the person he has met.
Yes.
So you're the person he has met. You're not the person maybe your previous husband met. You're completely different because of what you went through.
I mean, I am leaps and bounds different than the 17-year-old girl that got married to the first one.
Absolutely.
Like, and you're right. Man, that is so powerful.
Isn't it?
Afraid to say, meet me now.
Yeah. I thought it was so perfect. And the one friend I said, I really need you to understand and know who I am now, and because I really want you in my life. But you, I didn't say you can't speak to me, but she got it. I tried to put it as in the most positive way I could possibly put it. But I think she absolutely got it, because it made her think, oh my God, yeah, because like when we're together, she'll say things, and I'm sure I was a pain in the ass in my early 20s, because she'll say, but you're the pain in the ass, and I'm like, no, I'm not that pain in the ass anymore, I don't even say the same things, as with age, we grow and we understand, and we get a lot more mellow, and we know who we will put up with, and we know our worth. I think it's just like understanding your worth and everything else.
Yes.
So sometimes, she'll say things that it's like, no, that's not me anymore. It's not who I am. So you've really got to understand who I am now. So
yeah. And we do change, all of us.
Absolutely.
And some of us a little more radically than others. But the bad, we learn more from the bad than we will ever learn from the good. You hear like super successful Warren Buffett, Mark Cuban, people like that. They were like, I am only where I'm at today because of my failures.
Absolutely.
But I'm not dwelling in them. I cannot wallow in the failure. I can break it down, assess it, and figure out how to try again.
And when you lose people, that my first huge loss was at university. I lost one of my good friends, and that was like the first bit. But I had a huge loss in 2016. I witnessed and watched my friend die, and it took her like 2 weeks to die, and that was my eye opener. 2016 really changed my life. I was like, oh my God. And she was only in her early 50s. She choked, and from the choking she was a little bit overweight, but from the choking brought on a massive heart attack. And, I was with her family the entire time in the hospital, and I'm just thinking, man, this woman, Carlene was so kind. Carlene was the most kindest person I have ever met in my entire life. She did everything to get her entire family from Jamaica to America. She worked every hour of the day, and then she went like that. And it really opened my eyes. I'm just like, no, I have to start like living more than I've been living. Like that was a real kick up the ass to me, and that's what made me. I mean, I was married at the time, and I turned around to my husband and said, I have to go study art therapy in New Mexico, but I know that you've got your job in DC, so we'll be living apart for a little while. And he was like, what? You know, but he got it. He got it. He visited me every weekend, and you know, he got it. He knew that was something that I had to do.
Well, and it does, like you said, you know, people change and we change and people fall off because life is like a tree and it has to grow, but it molts and it drops leaves and it grows new ones. And sometimes that leaf is the same one or what have you. But you're right. We have to embrace ourselves. We just have to. And I do think a lot of it is we don't find our worth when we should have.
No.
We don't allow it for us. We're too busy building everyone else's.
And I think it's a culture thing as well, because I watch, I mean, I wished I'd grown up in this village, honestly, because I watch, you know, the expats and we all got together, you know, Australians, English, American, myself, we got together yesterday, had a beach day, and we were all saying, isn't it wonderful how you don't see family go, oh, granny, look after my kid because we're going out. You don't see that here because they're saying, oh, we're going out. As a family, we're going out. So they go to the village park or there's a concert on the beach, but everybody is included. Everybody's there, even great-grandmother. Like, no one's just left at home stuck babysitting or that. Everyone's included. And it's a real family affair. And that's what, you know, the Australian and the American, who both have grandchildren, they said that's the difference. Like, they feel their kids, phone them up, leave the grandchildren, and then go out. So there's none of this, a lot of family time together.
Yeah, we've lost the dynamic for sure.
Yeah. I mean, that's a whole other podcast talking about dynamic.
Girl, that might be 3.
Yeah. I know, right? But just, I mean, just about the building up, like you know, I often wonder what I would have been like if I'd actually, I mean, I left Scotland at 18. I've actually been in America now longer than I was in Scotland. And I know it's changed my views and attitude, but I wonder, like, how I would feel about myself if I was still in Scotland, or because it really took a lot of trauma for me to be in the culture and be in the environment I was in. It took my brains and my trauma to understand my worth, which is quite sad, because I think growing up here, I think the family, they're real though. They don't say to the kids, oh, you're great, everything's great. They'll turn around and say, you're getting fat. Like, they will say, you're getting fat, stop eating so much, or stop doing that, or, you know, they're real with it. They keep it real, but they're not, but they're nurturing for sure.
Yeah. Well, I can't tell you how happy I am that we have done this, and we're going to do more.
Absolutely.
I love it, because I just think that you have fathoms and fathoms and fathoms of things to share. And I'm looking forward to it. But I know you're getting out and you're going to Naples today to go see the friend.
Yeah.
All right, beautiful. Have a safe trip.
You too. It's wonderful seeing you again.
And America loves you, but we understand why you don't want to come back.
I know. I just feel at peace. I feel so at peace here. I miss my dogs though. I do have 2 dogs, and I had to leave them, and I hate that. Yeah, I'm ready to see my dogs. But I'm also super excited to bring them over here, hopefully.
Yes, I was like, but you can bring them. It takes a little time.
Exactly. But they're allowed everywhere. Dogs are allowed everywhere.
I know. Like, dogs and kids.
No restrictions.
Yes.
Yep. The beach, everywhere. Yeah, no restrictions.
Okay. I love you. And we will get together and we will do at least one more before you go
Absolutely.
home. And so we can walk to the piazza and see the people. And thank you so much for reminding us that we do not live boldly. We do not live out loud. And we do not love that way either. And we should.
We absolutely should. Hopefully it'll make some people think after hearing this, right? For the better. Mwah. Bye. See you
Bye.
soon.